This video is all about the different types of prototype, and we often find that design companies will rush business founders or entrepreneurs with new ideas into the later types of prototype that are much more expensive, and this is a mistake. So make sure you watch until the end of this video so you learn about the different types of prototyping and how you can use them effectively to save you money and time in the development process.
If you're looking for a trusted source of information to turn your idea into a successful business, then look no further. We have a wealth of knowledge and insight to share with you, and we're always adding new content to help you on your journey. Make sure you subscribe to the channel straight away.
This video is created out of 2 decades of experience helping individuals, entrepreneurs, and big businesses to prototype their ideas. The first type of prototyping is a rough functional model. This could be called a test rig, it could be called a latch up, it could be called a basic physical model. There's lots of different names for basically the same thing. It's really where you try and test the core functionality of a new idea as quickly and cheaply as possible. And often with this type of prototype, what we're doing is taking apart other products and just fabricating something out of what we've already got lying around just to test the basic principles of the new design. And this is a critical type of prototype because it can save thousands. If you don't do this, then you end up having to invest in an expensive, looks like, works like prototype only to find that actually it's too big or it doesn't function in this scenario or the components don't fit correctly or whatever it is. So test the basic functionality in a quick and dirty prototype before moving forward. And if you want more details about this, then watch this video now. In the meantime, if you're finding this useful, please hit like and subscribe. It makes a huge difference to the channel. The next type of prototype is an aesthetic model, and it is basically all about the form. It's about checking that what this thing looks like is actually what your customers want or key stakeholders in the project are prepared to invest further in. It really is about getting people excited about this new idea, but it doesn't function like the final thing. It's just something that looks like the final thing. Now, often this is in exactly the right dimensions, which means you can also test out key ergonomics, make sure it feels right in the hand, all of those key things. And again, it's a cheaper way of testing those things, if that's what's critical to your product, before moving into expensive looks like, works like prototypes. Before we move on to the next type of prototype, just check out the description quickly. There's a link there to a fantastic PDF guide that I've written all about prototyping ideas. Now, the next type of prototype is this looks like, works like prototype. And it's what it says basically. It's fully functional, but it also looks like the final product as well. Now, it is limited by what can be done in prototyping. So the materials are unlikely to be as strong as they would be in terms of production plastics or metals. And also there are certain things that won't be possible because they are only possible with production methods. So it's not an exact replica of your final product, but it's as close as we can get without investing in production tooling. Now, often it will take 2 or 3 attempts with this prototype to get to the right end result. It might be you produce your first looks like, works like prototype, you test it on some consumers, and you realize that actually a few things need to change, and therefore you go through another iteration. So this can be really costly, which is why we always suggest that you look at the other types of prototype first, prove your basic functionality, get all the sizing right and everything else, and only then invest in something that looks like and works like your final product. Now, I personally respond to all comments. If you've got any questions on this at all, please do stick them down below and I'll get back to you. Now, the final type of prototype that we're going to look at today is what's called a pre-production prototype. And basically, as you start talking to a manufacturer about your idea, you may find that there's some final changes. The manufacturer may have different components they want to bring in because they can source them more cheaply, or there may be changes they want to make for cost-effective tooling and assembly. And if they're extensive, then you may want to do a final pre-production prototype to check all that out before you go into tooling, which can be hugely expensive. Now, the key thing about this prototype is it doesn't need to look like the final product anymore. It really is just a question of rapid prototyping all the different components, making sure they assemble and fit correctly with the changes that have been made. Now, if you found this video useful, do check out this next video, which goes into prototyping in a lot more depth.